Chancellor Rachel Reeves promised the government would close migrant hotels.
I can confirm today that, led by the work of my right honourable friend, the Home Secretary, we will be ending the costly use of hotels to house asylum seekers in this Parliament.
Yay! But isn't this just a load of rubbish? They're not smashing the gangs. I have infiltrated a Channel migrant smuggling gang. We reached out on TikTok, posing as a Vietnamese migrant who wanted to take a small boat to Britain. He then gave us his personal phone number and we communicated via WhatsApp.
Hello, my friend, how are you? My friend, you must tomorrow come here in Cali, and after tomorrow we go, inshallah.
In fact, GB News' very own Bev Turner asked the Chancellor about our exclusive revelations into the people smuggling gangs today.
Well, I will make sure that the Home Office watch that, because we do need to crack down on those gangs. It's why yesterday we announced £250 million for the Border Security Command to do just that, because we can't just carry on like we have been these last few years.
You can just go on TikTok, talk to them, they tell you where they are, they give you your phone number. It's quite easy, really. Anyway, and despite videos like this, where Labour claims to be deporting loads of people, the truth is that they are paying most of those people to leave, and they can't say how many Channel migrants have been deported. So, where are these illegal immigrants going to live? Well,
want to help councils who want to build those homes. We see 160,000 children in temporary accommodation, and the cost of that on local authorities is significant, as well as the impact on children's life chances. So we need to build the homes, and we're doing everything we can to turn the tide of decline and build the houses that people desperately need.
I'll make you a little bet right now, shall I, that those illegal migrants will be put up at the taxpayers' expense in some of that social housing up and down the country. Or does anyone else think it might be a little bit of a coincidence that Labour decriminalised rough sleeping at the same time they said they'll shut the migrant hotels? I don't. Do they want Britain to look like this? I have never seen anything like this in my life. Wow. Hello, everybody. It's tense everywhere. This is going to sound awful to people who are just watching. I don't mean any disrespect to anyone who's here, but the smell is absolutely overpowering. You've got people on top of each other. Yeah, okay. Lots of people here. There's somebody just praying over here. Or even like Skid Row in San Francisco.
I can't get through that way.
Yeah, here's my prediction. The Home Office will approve the overwhelming majority of asylum cases. They'll buy up a load of housing stock, turn them into multiple occupancy, they'll shove all the illegal immigrants in there, and then when that fills up, get ready for illegal migrant tent cities. Welcome to Park Lane in London, twinned with Baghdad. Let's get thoughts on my panel this evening. We, of course, are joined by journalist Emily Sheffield. We've got Tory peer Lord Bailey, and we have broadcaster Fahima Mohammed. Sean, I'll start with you on this. I mean, look, I thought that was quite astonishing, really, the idea that they're going to shut the migrant hotels. They're not smashing the gangs, and they've got nowhere to put them, have they? So what's going to happen?
I mean, there's two things to say. No matter what they do, those people are here and will need to be dealt with. We have laws in this country about levels of decency. So the idea that you'll shut these hotels and they'll magically disappear simply isn't true. There'll be councils countrywide who now legally have to house a large number of these people. That will come at great expense. That you can't get around that. What was interesting, though, was the lack of detail as to where these people are going to go and how much they're willing to pay to have that be resolved.
Emily, your views, where are Labour going to put the people who are no longer going to be in those migrant hotels?
Absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
Do you? I mean...
Well, I think it'll be tents and social housing.
They've given us no detail, so until we get some detail, it's all guesswork between all of us. They've said, oh, well, you know, we're going to speed up the asylum system. Well, they're not going to speed it up so much we don't have, I don't know, at least 20,000. There are 30,000 in hotels right now. You know, we're going to come on to this, but, you know, the French can't even stop them getting on the boats. We're even way 2 foot in the water to stop them getting on the boats. So the asylum seekers coming here is not going to stop. And quite rightly, you know, we're not going to treat people like dirt when they come here. But it's just pie in the sky. They're scared about performing in the polls. They wanted to announce something, so it's just sort of pie in the sky.
Yeah, I think we need to look ahead, though, genuinely, and try to preempt what the reality is going to be. And Fahima, what do you make of this? Because those people are going to have to go somewhere. Realistically, we are not going to deport them. I mean, I would love to, but we're not going to. So it's going to either be tents, social housing or new social housing, isn't it?
Well, you cannot deport them if there's nowhere to go. There has to be a solution. And at the same time, these migrants that are living in hotels, they're not living at the Ritz. They are actually suffering in the sense that they want to work, they want to have a family life, and we need to see that there is definitely a system that has been broken for many years, not in this government, but also the previous government.
What jobs do you realistically think that most of them are going to do? Because, I mean...
There's construction, there is lots of maybe, I don't know, restaurants, low skill, whatever it is, because there's still so much vacancies that are available in the UK that is not being actually... We talk about, you know, jobs being taken away, but at the moment there's so many vacancies at the moment.
We have massive unemployment, don't we? So why don't we...
Exactly, which no one's filling the gap right now.
We have a large number of people who are economically inactive. That's slightly different to unemployment. People could do stuff to work. The issue is going to be this. For years, we spoke about immigration as if it just makes your country richer. That is clearly not true. And
it is.
It simply is not true. What it does, it enlarges the size of your economy, but it destroys your per capita head rush. How many people now, immigrant or not, at the lower end of society, give more in than they take out? If you're an immigrant and you're starting from a full stop, and I'm assuming you're a good fella who wants to get a job, you're still going to cost the state a significant amount of money for a significant amount of time.
Well, there's different types of migration and immigration.
Well, I'm making the assumption, I believe correctly, that these are economic migrants, the vast majority of these. The point is, it doesn't matter. Even if they're seeking asylum, they're going to need a job, and it's going to cost us quite a lot of money to get them going.
Well, it's going to fill spaces as well.
Yeah, but we should have taken that into account when we took so many in. And by the way, I know we're coming on to the French, but we should get our money back.
Yeah, OK. And yeah, we're going to come on to this a little bit later on in the show as well. What we're seeing in Northern Ireland, in various different towns, most notably Ballymena in Northern Ireland. My concern, Emily, is that we're going to see more of that because we're going to end up having to put a lot of these people somewhere. That means they're going to have to be dotted around the UK. The government was saying that Operation Scatter is a myth. Well, I mean, it's happening, isn't it? So it can't really be a myth. And it only really takes one incident to create a flashpoint. And I do wonder whether or not they're aware of this.
No, I completely... I do not condone the behaviour that's happening in Belfast. It looks horrific. And we saw a machete, I think, what looked like a machete being thrown at a police officer. But I do agree that tensions will rise. And there'll be people that feed on those tensions across social media. So it is a sort of tinder pot. I think at the heart of it, though, it is about fairness. You know, we can argue about whether immigration is good for this country or not. But the point is it's meant to be controlled immigration. And these people are jumping the queue. And actually, when you look at the figures of what's coming out of our foreign aid, which is meant to go to sort of war-torn countries to help people stay in their country so they don't need to come on a boat and get here. Well, all that aid is now 3.1 billion we spent on housing asylum seekers in 23 to 24. Of that, 2.4 was coming directly from foreign aid that we're meant to send abroad, by the way, not just to help people abroad, but actually it's a sort of soft power foreign office capability that we do that's incredibly important, actually. So there is this sense of fairness is going to keep causing these eruptions, as like you say, because the British want fairness and they don't, let's be fair, like queue jumpers. They never have.
Do you not think that in order for Labour, if they are indeed not lying about this, in order for them to close all the migrant hotels by the end of this Parliament, the only way I can see them doing that is if they just approve everybody's claim that's in there and then try and get them out into the community?
That could be one way, or tagging, or whatever it is that they want to do in order to take back control and understand who is actually in this country, and also allow a way in which people can come in legally like they did for Ukraine and in Hong Kong. And that's when they can actually have control as to who's coming in, smash the gangs in that way, because they actually are taking over, and understand and actually have a process in that sense. But I do feel that regardless of us talking about, oh, it's horrific and this, that and the other, but we're the ones here with the rhetoric of blaming migrants when it's actually the government's failure in actually putting those processes in place, not just in this year or last year, but decades ago. So that's the issue right now.
If you're deliberately lying about being
because, you know, the migrants know it's illegal to come here in a boat.
Well, they also know that they are suffering.
Most of these boats are filled with young men. They've managed to get hold of a lot of cash to get on that boat. It's complete fallacy.
We cannot understand the mindset of someone.
It's a complete
well, you can, because I went over there and spoke to them.
But it doesn't matter what the mindset is. If it's illegal, it's illegal.
It's very easy to say sitting here in a nice, cosy place when you have people that are suffering, that have issues, and of course, but the laws do allow them to come in. The laws do this.
I'm sorry, these are laws.
And there's no legal way.
Do you believe we don't have a right to protect our borders? Is that what it comes down to?
Absolutely, we have to. That's what I'm saying. It's the government and not the migrants. If they have a situation,
What is your cap on how many migrants should be allowed?
Hold on. You're missing a point.
Well, we don't even know at the moment what's happening.
Hold on. You're missing the point. These are illegal migrants. That's the first thing. They are illegal.
Well, if you want to go by the law, it's irregular.
You've said your piece. This is illegal migrants we're talking about, many of which have paid a lot of money to come here, many of which who are not seeking asylum. If we were talking about asylum seekers, different conversation.
OK,
it's funny how you know everything about them.
Are you honestly telling me that if, I don't know exactly where you live, but if...
I live in Richmond.
The house next to you, or flat next to you, whatever it is, was sold... and then someone bought it, maybe the government, and turned it into a 5-bedroom HMO and put a load of new arrivals in there. And then outside on your street or at your local park, there were tents full of people who just arrived in this country, that wouldn't bother you?
Do you know what? If people are being criminal and they're doing activities that are criminal, that would bother me more. You cannot just criminalise everyone just because they look different from you or they speak a different language, and you have a perception and assumption which just, brushes everyone in the same sort of way, just from a few reasons. That is just dehumanising everyone.
I tell you why it wouldn't bother me, because it's a matter of scale. If you bring in a certain amount of immigrants that we can deal with, give them places to live, get them work, get them their children through school, absolutely fine. Where the problem lies is when you bring in so many that you can't administer your country.
That's government problem.
What about the other poor people who were born here?
Well, this is it.
You need to work with them too.
Fundamentally, I'll put this here, only fundamentally, I personally feel that people who are British, i.e. born here, who have chosen to live somewhere, a particular part of the country, of their own free will, who've worked hard, paid their taxes and abided by the law, do have a right to be concerned about whether or not local properties in the area they've chosen to live in, because they like that area, are going to end up accommodating, say, like 5 different Somali families or something like that. I think they've got a right to be worried about that.
Why should it matter where they come from, who's living next to you? We are in a society that it shouldn't matter unless, of course, they're doing something illegal and wrong. Why are you picking on certain groups and making it a problem because they're like that?
I'm not making it a problem.
Yes, you are.
I'm saying that
That's what gives people the riots are happening. If you let me explain myself, and I happily will,
I think that people have a right to want to protect the culture and the identity of where they currently live.
Culture now. So that's going to become law. What does that mean, anyways? We are all different. We all have differences. We're sitting here and we're all 3 different.
Absolutely.
So what are you talking about? You are now picking about certain people from certain groups, and you are actually now demonising them because that's a problem.
I
do care.
British people saying that they have a right to want their own country.
What, just by their own people? Is that what you're saying?
To be a more homogenous and less kind of breakneck speed, rapid demographic change. That might not bother you, but it does bother some people, and they have a right to be bothered by it.
Well, that's not British values to have that kind of problem when you have that kind of, like, association with colour and caste and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, God, I've never mentioned colour or caste once. I've mentioned culture. There are loads of different aspects to that.
There's so many different cultures within the British nationals. Do you know what I mean? You go to Wales, you go to Scotland, you go to up north, you go Midlands. It's all about that. OK, what I will say about that is I think it's exactly that kind of attitude that leads to people getting incredibly angry, and it doesn't help. No, it's your attitude that leads to people people that are jumping on the bandwagon and causing these riots.
Absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
Let's march through the middle of this, right? There's two elements that concern me. One is purely about numbers and how we administer the country and how we look after the poor people we already have here.
Exactly.
Britain is full of poor people, and there's no doubt that if you have this level of immigration, you're going to have to juggle the queue around, and that means people don't perceive it as fair. That's got nothing to do with colour or caste.
Well, you mentioned it. You mentioned Somali.
Colour or caste.
You mentioned Somali people.
I'm going to move on from this because we do have the rest of the show, but I do suggest that you listen more closely in future and don't put words in people's mouths in an attempt to make them seem racist when they're not. Because I tell you what, it brushes off me. It brushes off me. I don't care about being called those things because I'm not. So I'm not going to have it on my show. Anyway,